Hello, welcome to Oops Spoilers. This is an Other Girls Media production, and this is the podcast where we talk about books, TV shows, movies, and give a TOG score, as well as speak with other creatives. Well, I'm saying we. I guess technically Elise should be doing this intro, but whatever, I already started it. Where Elise interviews other creatives in this field. Well, this is our first, technically, this will be the first episode of 2026, part of the rebrand. And I really wanted to do this one because this is a movie that's out right now. That's also a book. And I just saw the movie like 2-3 days ago. Elise just read the book. I read the book back in October. So you guys probably know from what I just said, it is The Housemaid. It was very, very popular. It's a Frieda McFadden book, which, do you know the lore behind Frieda McFadden, Elise?
No, I didn't know there was lore.
Yeah, so that's not her real name. She's like a brain surgeon or something. And if you see pictures of her, she wears this wig that is just so awful. And she wears glasses that aren't her. She doesn't need to wear glasses. She wears glasses and she wears a wig, which I love. I wish I didn't care so much about like myself that I could do something like that. Like I really do like seeing my name places. I could never do that. But
Yeah.
like I love that. I think that's so good for her. She's like a brain surgeon or something.
That's crazy. Never would I ever have guessed.
Yeah, never. So that's really cool. She's very popular right now. For those of you who are into reading, like you would know that. I also just read Never Lie by her, which was okay. I will have a Goodreads review up on that by the time you guys see this. But anyway, super excited to talk about The Housemaid. And in this show, what we do is we spoil. So I'm going to read the description from Amazon because I could not get the Goodreads thing to read more every time I clicked it. I'm going to read the description from Amazon and I'm going to pause and I'm going to say, oops, spoilers. And throughout the show, if you hear us go, oops, spoilers, that means, hey, there's going to be a spoiler. And sometimes there will be a spoiler without us warning you, but we'll try to warn you. The point is, after the first oops, spoilers, that means get out of here if you want to read it and not be spoiled. You leave. Now, after that first oops, spoilers, we are not responsible for you being spoiled. Okay, here is the description of the book. The Housemaid by Frieda McFadden. I don't know why my brain stopped right there. Okay. Every day I clean the Winchester's beautiful house top to bottom. I collect their daughter from school and I cook delicious meals for the whole family before heading up to eat alone in my tiny room on the top floor. I try to ignore how Nina makes a mess just to watch me clean it up, how she tells strange lies about her own daughter, and how her husband seems more broken every day. But as I look into Andrew's handsome brown eyes, so full of pain, it's hard not to imagine what it will be like to live Nina's life. The walk-in closet, the fancy cars, the perfect husband. I only try on one of Nina's pristine white dresses once, just to see what it's like, but she soon finds out. And by the time I realize my attic bedroom door only locks from the outside, it's far too late. But I reassure myself, the Winchesters don't know who I really am. They don't know what I'm capable of. ... All right, I'll give you 2 seconds. Oops, spoilers. Now, here we go. Okay, I guess should we first give your initial thoughts?
Okay.
Overall thoughts.
I mean, I feel like it was a well-written book. Like, from the beginning, I was pretty interested. Like, she does a good job grabbing your attention. And then I think the whole premise of the book is fascinating, you know?
Yes.
And it only gets more so. So, like, entertainment value is for sure high with this one.
Okay, that's so interesting. Okay, so I thought it kind of started off a little slow, the book. So I'll talk about the book first. So I saw the book and the movie. We're going to talk about the book first. I thought the book started off a little slow, and it took me like a minute to care about Millie. Like at first I was like, okay, like she did something bad, now she's a maid. Like it just took me a minute to care about her. But once I did care about her, and once like I got into the book, I'm like, oh, this is good. It's like Gone Girl. Did you ever see Gone Girl? I never read the book. I wish I had. You should read the book. Gone Girl, it's like the similar vibe of that. Like, you know, you're thinking that it's this one thing and then, whoa, it's something completely different. So once I got over the initial kind of like, okay, this is going kind of slow, I was hooked. I really liked the book. The movie, I feel like, does a better job pulling you in from the beginning. But once again, this is also my perspective, having been really excited to see it and already read the book. So I don't know, that's probably like a little bit slight bias, but I did feel like from the beginning, I was like, okay, something's off here. And it could also be like the way Amanda Seyfried, I thought, did a really good job acting. And you guys know I'm a tough critic on Sydney Sweeney, and I think she did okay. I'm not mad at her. She did okay. But, you know, Amanda Seyfried, I thought, did a really amazing job. And, like, maybe her acting kind of added to, like, the, like. So, yeah. So I thought my initial reactions book started off slow. Initial reactions movie, okay, this is good. Lots to say about the movie once we get to that segment. But, yeah. Okay, so at least you want to ask the questions. I guess you should be doing more in this than I am.
Yeah. All right, let me pull them up. Okay, so first of all, do we have to break down the plot a little bit? Because the first question talks about
how could
Nina.
I forget to do that? Yeah, let's do that. So, do you want to do it?
Might make more sense. Yeah, I could do that. So basically, Millie is an ex-convict who is like been released from prison recently, and she's in that classic struggle of like, I have a record, people don't want to hire me, the places that do hire me don't pay well, or people take advantage of me because they think they can pull one over on me. Like, she's living out of her car at the beginning of the book and just like really, really struggling. And so she kind of lands this perfect housemaid job where she gets a place to stay. It's in this beautiful estate. You know, they're paying her awesome money. And so she takes it and she's like super excited about it, but it just very quickly becomes obvious that something weird is going on, specifically with like the mother of the family, that she's got like some kind of like, she acts insane, like gaslights Millie constantly, like is always making a huge unreasonable mess and or like doing things, causing problems and blaming Millie for it. So throughout all of this, the dad, Andrew, is like kind of the voice of reason. Like he just comes across as like this very like suffering saint of like, oh, this is my wife, you know, my wife, and I love her and I'm just such a good husband, and like I'm so sorry for what she's doing to you, but you know, she's had a like, she just has these struggles and these issues and it's not her fault. And so she kind of like, the housemaid gets like ingratiated into this family to the point where she's like in love with the husband, hates the wife. And so it's just kind of, the story is mostly about like the spiral and like how that progresses. And then at the end you figure out that the mom, Nina, has basically been concocting this elaborate scheme in order to get her husband to kick her out and like leave her because he's in love with the housemaid. So like from the beginning she was looking for somebody that like was his type, like that would love him, he would love her, and that would like allow her to be free, because it turns out Andrew is like this psychotic, like, so I guess he's more of a sociopath, like sociopathic, like has been torturing her for all the years of their marriage, and like holds her daughter as like leverage against her, and is very like very mentally unwell. And so Nina's been looking for a way to escape, and so Millie is kind of the scapegoat, as like the sacrificial lamb. And so that's like a big spoiler plot twist of,
yeah,
like, oh my gosh, the one that we thought was crazy and actual like the problem is actually just a victim trying to escape a really bad situation, and the guy who comes across as like this perfect gentleman, perfect, you know, like knight in shining armor, is actually like a terrible person. So the first question is,
wait, I want to say that was a great chef's kiss description. That was like near perfect.
Thank you. The first question is that Nina is willing to sacrifice another woman's safety in order to protect herself and her daughter. How do you feel about this decision? Can you understand Nina's choices? Mal, do you want to go first?
Sure. I think the decision is objectively selfish. Like we can all, I mean, even Enzo said that. I understand why. It's one of those things where it's like, I understood why you did it. I don't think you should have done it, but like, I understand why. Yeah.
Yeah. Enzo is like a housekeeper. He's like a groundskeeper.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very handsome Italian.
So he's been helping Nina like kind of like concoct the scheme or execute it. Like he's been trying to get her out like of the situation, but he doesn't like her plan. So yeah, he's like supportive, but like he does not support her like leaving Millie to her own devices with Andrew.
And then I guess what I'll do is like throughout, we'll talk about the book, and then maybe throughout the book, I'll just go like, or throughout our discussion, I'll just say, and then in the movie, because I don't know how else to do that.
Yeah.
But I'll say, like, in the movie, he did not have as big of a role. I kind of wish he did, though. I think it would have made the story a little bit more interesting. But for those who don't know, the movie was already over 2 hours.
Yeah.
Which was a lot. Low key, it could have been a good limited series, which I noticed they are doing a lot on Peacock. For those who have Peacock, they're doing a lot of, like, thrillers on Peacock. It would have been a good limited series. I don't know if it would have been, like, 8 1-hour episodes worth. Maybe, like, 4 episodes. 4 1-hour episodes, I think it would have been fine. But Enzo does not play as big of a role. I wish he did, though.
Yeah, I think it would have made the story really long and convoluted for a movie.
100%.
So I can see why they didn't.
Yeah.
He's a great character in the book, though. In a book format, he works really well.
Yeah, or a limited series. I really think it would have been fun in a limited series where they had time to, like, you know, like maybe the first 2 episodes are really what happens, like at the beginning of the book, and then the second 2 episodes could be about, like, Nina's. I could have done it myself. Could have been about
Project
Nina.
for later.
Yeah, project for later.
All right. Well, did you ever suspect that Andrew was too good to be true? Any red flags that you noticed?
Okay, so I did not. Sorry, he fooled me. And I would have been fooled in real life.
Yeah.
I thought I was wondering, like, okay, everybody says this book is good. Where is this, like, twist? Like, it seems so straightforward to me that I thought, okay, maybe the wife was just going to be even crazier than we thought. Yeah. But I had no idea that he was too good to be true. I cannot think of a single red flag. I will say, when we were leaving the movie, one of our friends, Kara, shout out to Kara if she ever hears this, one of our friends, she was like, he seemed too good to be true. And that is something that I do, like, that is a real thing, and I do want to get better at spotting that. But honestly, like, I just don't. Like, if you're really good to me, like, of course you are. Why wouldn't you be? But anyway, go ahead, Elise. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think maybe that's a special kind of delusion that I'm under, because for me, it's like I believe that there are people out there who are like good or like fit well with you, like your type, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, I believe that that's real, and so for me, too good to be true is not really a red flag. I'm like, no, they're good. Like, that's the whole point. They're too good to be true, so they're good, so they can't. There's not a dark side here.
Wait, can I say something about that really quick?
Yeah.
So there is good, but like every person has a capacity to not be, or everyone has the capacity to not be good. So I do think if someone is too good, like, that is impossible. But I do think there are people who are really, really good, who, like, you will be compatible with. It'll be like 98% good and 2% bad. But like, I do think if you find yourself in a situation where there is like 0 flaws, there is absolutely nothing wrong with someone, I do think that means they are hiding something, or like there is something like unseen, because like that's just how, I mean, we live in a sinful, fallen world, so that's just kind of how it's going to be. But I just want to say that, like, there are really, really good guys out there. I don't know where they live or they exist, but I do know that they are real. But they, you know, there's no such thing as a perfect person or like a really, really good person, because that's just there's no person who's truly good but Jesus. So I just wanted to add that. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Andrew, though, he had me fooled for sure. Looking back on it, I guess the only thing that like was weird to me at the time, and probably was some kind of red flag, was like when he would intercept Millie and Nina having like an altercation, and like Nina would be like acting crazy, or saying like, oh, Millie did this, she ruins this, or she's trying to whatever, steal my place, or like ruin this for me. Like, he would come down and intercept like Nina having a breakdown, and he would just like, he kind of went along with Nina, and then as soon as Nina left the room, he would go to Millie and he'd be like, I know that she's lying. I know that she's like, I know she's crazy. I know you didn't do this. There was only one time when he like stood up to Nina and was like, no, I know that you're not telling the truth right now. Like, I know that Millie, like, you gave Millie these clothes and now you're trying to say that she stole them from you. Like, that's not what happened. One time that he actually told her that to her face. All the other times he was like, Millie, like, what? Like, like, acted like he was taking Nina's side on something. And that to me is that's a red flag now. Like he was kind of trying to play both sides and or not be he was not being honest, with like
Yeah.
what he actually like perceived was going on,
And
and
to
that's just
that,
like very not good.
yeah. And to that point, I want to add, because you're right on that, that technically is a red flag. Because even like, how do I say this without sounding like, okay, my opinion, when you're married, like you are one, you are to stay a friend. So, especially to someone who is assisting you, helping you, someone like an outsider of your family, you should,
Mhm.
I don't think, even if you do agree with Millie, I don't think you should be like low key bashing your spouse or, yeah, I know she's crazy. I think if you want to play
Mhm.
that game, because, obviously Nina was lying, you should,
Mhm.
agree with Nina and then say maybe there's some sort of confusion. My wife or not, but I do think that if you are a spouse, especially to someone who is so intimately, which I mean, also very inappropriate to, I think, very inappropriate to hire someone young and objectively beautiful to work for you when you have a, I don't know, I would never.
Mm.
But yeah, so
Hot
I just think
takes.
it's just
These are hot takes.
inappropriate. Yeah, I guess that is a hot take. I think that, yeah, it's a hot take. Someone, an older person in my life, once even said that to me. Like, said that to someone else in my life, that like, hey, when you're hiring someone to help, like, be mindful of who you hire. Not necessarily say hire someone ugly. That's not necessarily what they were saying. They were just kind of being like, it does matter if someone's going to be around your husband for a long time. And not saying that your
Mhm.
husband can be completely faithful, but we all know that there are women out there who will try to take advantage of any type of situation. So that's just a side note.
Mhm.
But yeah, you're right. That's kind of a red flag.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Were you surprised by in like part 2 of the book? I don't know if they did this in the movie at all, where they like showed like from Nina's perspective and they kind of gave that background information of like, oh, like here's actually the history between Nina and Andrew and like how she got entrapped with him and what the abuse she went through was, instead of just like, Millie's perspective of like, oh, Nina's crazy and Andrew's an angel, like where you get
Yeah.
like the behind the scenes from Nina's perspective. What did that look like in the movie? And then what did you think about that?
Okay, so in the movie, how they had the beginning or the Millie's part was she was like, Dear Diary, and then they do, how they'll do like the voiceover and they'll show
Mm-hmm.
scenes like when she hit the guy for hitting on a girl, um,
Mm-hmm.
and when she worked at that like bar or whatever. So that's how they did the first half. So then when it was Nina's turn, when they switched over to Nina, it was like a letter to her daughter, and it was like, you're either reading this when I'm dead or you just turned 18. I hate I have to tell you the story. So then she describes the story that we read about. I was shocked.
Mm.
Once again, it reminded me of, oh, I guess I shouldn't say, you know what I'm going to say it. Oops, spoilers. It reminded me of Gone Girl. I don't know if you've seen it. Like going into Gone Girl, never knowing about the twist. I mean, it's been out for like 5 ever. Going into Gone Girl, not knowing about the twist was just like, whoa, this is crazy. It is such a good movie. Ben Affleck is just an amazing. I mean, he plays the dissociated, easygoing, not caring husband so well. All of that to say, it was a
Mhm.
good. I was not expecting that. That was a good little twist, and I think it just to around that time, a little bit before, but around that time is really. And I was like, okay, now this, I get it. Good job, Frieda. I see it. I see the vision now. But what about you?
I was surprised, partially like I just didn't know what to expect. I really like I
Yeah,
hadn't heard anything about the housemaid really, so I didn't know like what
good.
the I mean I knew like that, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this family is crazy," but I didn't anticipate really that it was going to be like Nina's not the bad guy, or or
Right.
like thought we were going to get that like peek behind the curtain. Um But yeah, so I was very surprised. Did not see it coming. Was not prepared for Andrew to be that level of like whacked out. So that was that was crazy. So hopefully you guys listening have already read or seen it, because it would be a little bit sad if I had known about it beforehand. Like
Yeah.
it really is the element of surprise.
Yeah, it really made the movie slash book. Two of my friends that I went to see the movie with didn't read the book, so every time it got close, I just kept looking over at them because I wanted to see like their face when they like find out like, wait a minute, Nina isn't the crazy one.
Yeah.
And they were surprised. I was sitting next to a man who was there with his wife, and he was like, he said H, holy S. He was like shocked because the whole movie he was making comments. He was like a movie talker, so that was a little annoying. But he was making comments like, "Oh, she's crazy. Wow, I cannot. Why has she not left yet?" And I wanted to be like, "Just wait, just you'll see. Just give it a chance." So he like everyone was shocked who had not read the book, and it's a good twist.
Yeah.
So hopefully you're listening to this after you read the book or saw the movie.
Yeah. And then we talked a little bit about Enzo earlier, that he, like he decided to help Nina. The backstory for like why he wanted to get her out of that situation was he had like a sister that had an abusive husband, and her husband killed her. And so he was like, I can't let another woman, like I can't watch you go through that or know that your husband is like treating you this terribly and like not doing anything about it. So he, like helps Nina come up with this plan, helps her execute it. And then the end of the movie or the book, the story is that so Millie, falls in love with Andrew. They become like a couple. Nina gets kicked out, even though that's what she wanted. And so, but then Millie is now Andrew's like perfect wife. Like he has to, in his head, he has to like teach her lessons and make sure that she's like carrying the family name and like representing him well. So whenever he does whenever she does anything, like leaves books on the coffee table or leaves a light on or whatever, he has to like come up with these crazy absurd punishments, like psychological torture, in order to teach her not to do that, because it turns out that's what his mom did to him when he was a baby or a child.
Yes, which I don't think was clear in the movie, because my one of my friends was like, wait, so what was with the mom? And in the book I felt like it was very clear that his mother is who taught him to be so crazy, essentially.
Yeah, because she was crazy.
Yeah, I think it was implied that she had done the same thing to him.
Yeah, she almost said it. She did say it, actually.
She did.
I think in the book.
Okay.
She was like, what happened was they find Andrew's body after he locks Millie in her attic room and tries to teach her a lesson. She gets released after she like humors him or whatever, and like turns around and locks him in there and basically like tortures him until he dies. And so at the funeral, they're saying like he was found. It's not like public, but basically Andrew's mom is talking to Nina, and she's like, hey, so the police people, the connections I have at the police station told me that he was found locked in the attic, and they had tried to like propagate it, like saying he got locked in there by accident, and like Nina wasn't home, nobody was home, so he just died in there. But Andrew's mom at the funeral is like, they told me that he was found without, like, that he'd pulled out some of his teeth. And Nina's like, oh no, she knows that he didn't die naturally. Like, no one gets locked into an attic and pulls out their own teeth, unless somebody's coercing them to do it. But then Andrew's mom is like, yeah, when he was little, I tried to tell him that dental hygiene was important, and I pulled out his baby teeth to teach him that it was important, but I guess he didn't learn his lesson. She says, like, I pulled out my child's teeth in order to.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Like, yeah.
I thought she just said the privilege line, like, teeth are a privilege, but you're right, she did straight up say she pulled them out.
Yeah, and so she was like, I'm glad that you. Yeah, she's like, I'm glad you taught him his final lesson. Like, I'm glad that you made sure he understood that. And it's like, ma'am, your only son died in an attic after being forced to pull out his teeth. Right. And you're like, you were a good wife to him. You didn't let him get away with that. Like, are we kidding?
Crazy.
So
Also,
anyway,
really quick, the ending was different in the movie, but I think after we do the questions, and then I'll just go and say what was different and what was the same. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah, so before the funeral, there's a scene where Nina is sitting down in her house. She's like called, like the police are there. They've found Andrew. They're like examining the crime scene. And basically, because of Enzo's encouragement, Nina doesn't let Millie, the housemaid, take the fall for Andrew's death. Because once he's dead, they're like, okay, so, like at some point, people are gonna know that like what happened. They're gonna know he's dead, and like if Millie gets connected to it because of her history and like trouble with the law, she's like going away forever.
Yeah,
And
suspect number one.
Yeah, Nina feels bad doing that to her because she like coerced Millie into doing it, because she chose Millie for the housemaid position because not only because she was Andrew's type and she knew that they would get along well together, fall in love, whatever, but she also knew Millie's criminal background, which was like violent crimes against men and like specifically connected to abuse. So she like kind of knew that Millie was going to kill Andrew. Like that Andrew was not going to be able to pull one over on Millie, not going to get away with it. Like Millie was going to teach him his lesson. So she's like, I can't kind of have put her in that situation and then let her go to jail for freeing me from my abusive husband, you know?
Right.
So she's like, you go, Millie. Like, I'll tell them I gave you the week off and I will say, you know, like because of my history with mental illness, like Andrew made Nina out to be crazy to the entire town. She's like, worst case scenario, they'll say I had a psychotic break and I'll go to a psychiatric facility. You know, like they're not gonna put me in prison because I've never like committed a crime before, you know, like,
Yeah,
and or
less
I can plead
likely.
insanity.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, but she's sitting down, the detective is like, basically like, I know what happened, like I know that your husband did not die naturally, but it turns out that this cop's daughter was Andrew's former fiance before he was married to Nina way back when. Nina spent years trying to find her to get somebody to corroborate her story and like testify that Andrew has abused women, you know, like she couldn't find her. And then lo and behold, this detective that comes to investigate Andrew's death is this girl's father and knows everything that happened with her, knows what kind of a guy Andrew is. And he basically is like, we're gonna sweep this under the rug. Like, he got locked in that attic on accident and he died of, you know, like dehydration. Like, that's what happened. And kind of like, case closed. So basically, my last question is Enzo, you know, groundskeeper who helps Nina hatch the scheme, and detective who sweeps Andrew's death under the rug. They both chose to help Millie and Nina, but like in different kind of ways, and both because they had a victim that was close to them in their own like personal lives and history. So do you think that those two men would have helped if they didn't have that like personal connection like to victims in the past, or do you think they would have just ignored it and like just kind of did their jobs?
I think as something I've learned over the past few years, especially being in the conservative movement, is that people really don't care about certain things unless it affects them. That's just fact of the matter. And it's just part of the human experience. You yourself try to push past that urge, but 99.9% of people do not care. With that being said, the way Enzo was written, I could see Enzo caring to a degree. Maybe not necessarily the degree that he cares to now, because in the books especially, he was really trying to relive and avenge what he didn't do for his sister. And that was really the motivation behind it. I do think he was a good man, so he might have wanted to help still. I don't know if he would have gone to the same length if he wasn't on a vengeance quest. The
Mm-hmm.
detective, absolutely not. Because at the end of the day, like this cover up, the reality is like that is job costing. Like you can go to jail yourself. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
people would do that just out of the goodness of their heart. I think it would have to be something weighty. So
Yeah.
to answer the question, maybe not to the degree for Enzo, absolutely not for the detective.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it comes down person to person.
True,
There are
everybody's
there
different.
are yeah, there are some people that genuinely like they want to help people and like it doesn't matter that they don't know you or they're not connected to you. They don't need to have like a reason, but like if somebody needs help and I'm capable of helping you, I'm going to help you. Like I'm kind of that way, but it also does depend on like what the stakes are
I was gonna
sometimes.
say, like, would you do that for what the detective did? Would you cover up a murder for risk your job, your livelihood, risk all the people that you could help if you were still in your job, risk your home, risk jail time to help cover
Mhm.
up this murder?
But here's the thing about that. Like I think for the detective it's a little bit like because of his daughter's history with Andrew specifically, he knew what was going on with Andrew. Like he
Right.
knew that Andrew was an abuser and what lengths he took that. If he was just walking into that situation or even if his daughter had been abused by somebody else and it wasn't specifically Andrew, he would have just walked into a house where he's like, there's this insane woman and her husband's dead upstairs in the attic. Like, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? He wouldn't have had the background or the history to know what and like why Andrew died in like unless his daughter had been in a relationship with Andrew.
Right.
And so like for that specific scenario, justice by the book, justice would have been like this woman killed this man. She needs to pay the price. But where that gets a little bit complicated is because of specifically who her husband was. Like just an average man off the street does not deserve to be locked into an attic and die
Right.
there. But a man who has locked his wife in the attic repetitively and without any kind of remorse for years and years and years, like that is just,
Yeah.
like does it mean that we should be doing that, taking that into our own hands? Absolutely not. But like his death was the propitiation for what he did to her all those years.
Yeah.
Like it was eye for an eye.
Yeah.
So for him, if I were the detective and I didn't have a family member that had been abused by the victim, there wouldn't be a basis for me to cover that up because I wouldn't know that they
Right.
were a horrible, 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 evil person.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying too. Like it just no.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, no. The average person's
Right.
not gonna do it.
But yeah, but it's a little bit like what I'm saying for me is I guess like I would do it if I knew that you were being abused and you killed your abuser. Absolutely, I'll sweep it under the rug any day of the week.
Even with
Like
all the
done.
consequences, even if you don't know the
Yeah,
abuser. So wait, you do or you don't know the abuser?
that's what I'm saying. In the book specifically, he knew that
Right.
Andrew was an
But
abuser because he was connected
like,
personally.
what would you do if you were the person?
In that exact situation, I would do the exact same thing.
Okay.
What I'm saying is I can't hold like every cop ever to that standard
Yeah,
because
no.
like because not every cop ever like walks into a house and knows that that man like made women rip their hair out and made them do all like dehydrated them and did all this stuff.
No.
Like, you know what I'm saying? I would have to like know beyond a shadow of the doubt that that was what the situation was, and you're just not gonna know that unless you have a personal connection. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Right.
So
No,
it
no.
was such a unique situation that he had that information and was able to act in that way. If I had that information, I would act in that way, you
Yeah,
know?
okay, that's what you're saying. Yeah, no, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
saying that a cop should even do that. Like, I'm very, very big on justice. I'm just saying, like, I don't think the average cop or person would risk all of that unless they had that personal connection. And I even still don't know if people who had that personal connection would risk all of that because realistically, it is risking a lot. I think that there are people
Mm-hmm.
who would and there are people who wouldn't. And I don't necessarily think so. I do believe one is right and one is wrong. I don't know
Yeah.
which one is right and which one is wrong. I'll say that because I believe we've had this conversation. There is always a right and there is always a wrong. I don't know which one is right. I don't know which one is wrong because you're right. Technically, it is justice if the person does it, but then at the same time, there are laws and rules that we have for a reason, and doing that is breaking laws and rules.
Yeah.
But then just anyway. So I don't know what's right and what's wrong, but Anyway,
so would it be fair to say that sometimes there's gray areas? Like this might be a gray area?
I think it's fair to say in our human mind there could be gray areas, but to God there are no. Like to God there is a right or wrong answer. And I want to get to him. I want to believe what he believes. I just don't know how. I guess I have to read my Bible more. I have to read my Bible more and see if there's an exact scenario somewhere. Just joking. It's not.
Give her an eye, man. It's in there.
Yeah. But then it also says to obey the laws of the land and to give Caesar what Caesar.
So that's where the nuance.
Yeah, so which one does God hold higher? That's where I'm at. Which one does God hold higher? I don't know. What do you guys think? I guess that's not really the purpose of this podcast, but whatever. Something to think about.
We're not condoning personal violence also. Nobody go out. Don't start vigilanteing it up in the streets.
No.
I'm just saying, with the nuance of the situation, I think Andrew got what was coming for him.
Yeah. I do think with this specific situation, in this world that I don't think there's a heaven or a hell, I think that Andrew got what was coming for him as well. And I think that, it is what it is on whether Nina and Millie would face consequences for this specific action. Because I was going.
You wouldn't consider this to be set in the real world?
No. If I read, I have to make it a world where there is no heaven and hell. It has to be just like this other type of world for me when I read books, because then that will change. Honestly, that'll change whether something if there's no heaven and hell. I think some of us would respond differently to things. I know I would, if I'm being honest. I would.
That's crazy.
I'm watching Vampire Diaries. 2 second trail. There are times where they make decisions that I'm like, you know what? That is probably the smart thing to do, the right thing to do. But honestly, it's not the moral thing to do. But if you're not going to die anyway, then sometimes do the smart, right thing, even though you probably should do the moral thing. And there's no real consequences.
The right thing and the moral thing are the same thing, though.
No, they're not.
Morality
is right, sure, but sometimes the right thing to do is not the most moral thing to do. The right thing to do, if you were to see, let me think of an example. Okay, well, I don't want to spoil Vampire Diaries. Go to the book. Technically, the right thing to do would be for Nina to, when she saw that Andrew was starving in there, the moral thing to do would be to tell the police. That's the moral thing, because if he's starving and he's dead, when she walks in on him being in the attic and Millie's hurt, the moral thing is to tell the police. The right thing, I think, was to work with Millie. Once again, in this world.
Mm-hmm.
I do think being moral is also right, but sometimes it's two separate things. That's a terrible example. I'll come back to you with another example. But I do think the smart and right thing sometimes are different from the moral thing. Especially the smart thing. The smart thing might not be the moral thing.
Yeah, for sure. Smart, yeah, absolutely is not necessarily always the moral thing. But, I believe that right and moral are always the same thing. The right thing to do is always what is, the moral, divinely inspired by God thing to do.
Okay.
That's always the right thing to do.
Yeah. I guess maybe when I think of the right thing, maybe we don't have the same definition of right.
The practical thing to do, or
that's probably what I'm trying
efficient thing to do.
I think I'm trying to say the practical thing. I think that's the word. Yeah. The right might not be the right word. The more practical thing to do sometimes is not the most moral thing to do.
Yeah. I can get with you there.
Yeah. And 2 + 2 always equals 4. But sometimes, adding 2 + 2 hurts. Sometimes you experience pain. And for that reason, I have to separate books out of the real world. What's the next thing on our agenda?
I think we're good to just go ahead and give our point ratings and break down our TOG score.
Okay.
With our last few minutes.
Before we do that, I want to say, and I'll be quick, I want to talk about some of the differences between the book and the movie.
Okay.
Okay, so the biggest difference was the ending. In the movie, how it ends, sorry, I'm just pulling up this. In the movie, how it ends is the same in the sense of he traps Nina, okay? He traps Nina in he traps Nina in the attic, and then because she broke his plates, the tea plates, and did not clean them, right? And I can't remember. Does that happen in the book too?
No, in the book she like leaves some books out on the table.
It was messy. Okay, so from here on, everything else is different. Okay, so the mom brings these like antique plates he's been eating off of since he was a kid. She drops and breaks them, and then he said put them away so someone like the plate guy can put them back together. So she does that, but she didn't clean them because she's like they're like breakable or like it's things that could get cut. The shards, yeah, I can get cut. So he puts her in the attic after that. And then he slides, I don't remember if it was glass or a piece of the broken plate under the thing and makes her, because it's 21 pieces that the plate was broken into, and makes her cut herself on her stomach 21 times. It was actually crazy graphic. I was kind of like shocked. And then, yeah, that was insane. So she has to cut herself 21 times. And then once she does that, he comes in, same thing, he comes in. And before she does, she found the knife that Nina left. She stabs him in the neck and then makes him stay in the attic, the same thing. And then she goes and eats a sandwich and then asks him to pull out one of his teeth because he has the perfect smile. And then the daughter actually tells Nina, you have to go home and help Millie, as opposed to Enzo being the one. So the daughter tells Nina to go back home and help Millie. So Nina comes back, she sees the light on, and she goes, oh no, Millie must be in there. So Millie is chilling, stomach all cut up, bleeding and eating and watching TV. And then Nina comes in and she's quiet and she goes up to the door and she goes, Millie, I'm here to help you. I'm trying to help you. And then she opens the door, unlocks the door, and Andrew comes out, and the Millie's at the bottom of the stairs, and they tussle. Long story short, they tussle and whatever, and then he falls off the banister in off of their stairs, and then that's how he dies. That's how they find him, and they find like one loose tooth, and then she makes the comment. She says like, having nice teeth is the mother then at the funeral says having nice teeth is a privilege. And you lost that privilege, something like that. Sometimes you lose that privilege. And then Nina's like, oh my God, you sick woman. So yeah, so that's how it ends. It's a different ending than the book. I was curious how they would do the book ending. I think like the book ending was definitely more morbid and like, so for those who just watched the movie, Elise kind of said it, but essentially he dies from starvation. And when they find him, he's like a monster almost looking because he has missing teeth. And I think did some of his fingers come off too, or just his teeth? Okay.
No, just the teeth.
Okay, I guess I just imagine the fingers thing, but like his multiple teeth. It was multiple teeth. And then he died from starvation. So he just looked like creepy and like dead in there. Because she was in the house by herself with his body for like over a week. But in the book, it was like one night. In the book, it was over a week. In the movie, it was like one night. So yeah, so that was different. And I'm going to say this. So the Spice score is going to be different in the movie versus the book. Unfortunately, Sydney Sweeney had to show her good genes, and she showed her good genes multiple times. This is just a side note. I wonder, like, I guess, I don't know if she, like, it's like, it feels like it's obligated for her to do that, and it didn't need to be done. But yeah, we see her good genes, so just an FYI on that. Maybe Vid Angel, the movie. Yeah, I just wanted to make that point. They do show her good genes. I think what else was...
And by that, you mean that she's naked,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. You guys get the joke, like from the... commercial.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I was like, there's a lot of gray area in what shows her good genes could
That's
mean.
true. No, we
So,
see her breast. Yes, we see her
okay.
breast. And we see homeboy's butt. We see the back of his butt. So just heads up on that. And then I feel like the daughter had more of a role in the movie than in the book, which is interesting. And she makes like little ominous, creepy sayings. And then the emphasis on white. If you knew the book, you could see it in what they wore. But if you didn't know the book, you wouldn't have known to look for that. So they didn't like reference it at all. And then let me think what else. Yeah, I guess that's it. We can do the breakdown now because we are way over what I wanted us to be over.
Way over. We're 3 minutes and 14 seconds over. But yeah, if you want to start, that's fine. Or
You
I
can
can.
start.
Either
I've
way.
been talking about.
Okay. So for plot, I gave it a 4. I thought it was a very strong story. I gave it a 4 because for me, it kind of felt like there was a plot hole in like Andrew had Nina very locked down in the beginning of their relationship, like before Millie's introduced, which you see in the flashback portion. But then like for me it doesn't really make sense like why he was that stringent with her, and then all of the sudden like Millie comes in and he like there's just kind of like a degradation period for Nina where she like kind of lets herself go or like starts like slipping things in to like prepare for her plan. And I just don't really like with how Andrew's portrayed in the beginning, I kind of don't see how that would work. So like for me that was a little bit of a plot hole. I gave it a 4, but other than that, like great entertainment value. It was like a very strong story and excellently like executed overall.
Okay, for me, both movie and book, I would say is 4 as well. I really like the concept of it, like the overall like idea. Someone new come, somebody's crazy. Which one? Ooh, let's see who. I like that type of story, so I just thought it was good. I guess like when what you said about that, I kind of can see that, so that would be kind of like a plot hole. And then I guess another like plot hole is I feel like he just fell in love with Millie really quickly, but I understand, like, trust me, I understand liking someone real quick, but it just was when I was in my early 20s, not like when I was however old he was, like 40s. And then in the movie, he says, I wish I had met you sooner. And then all of my friends and I laugh because like, she's like 21, so she would have been like 12. So it's just like a funny thought. But yeah, so I'd say 4 for both.
Entertainment. I said 5. Couldn't put it down. It was addicting, emotional, binge worthy. It was fantastic, beginning to end. Enjoyed, was interested. So it got a 5 in entertainment.
Okay, for me, for the entertainment for the book, okay, on my Goodreads I said 3.8, but really I'm not quite sure why. Let me see if I like gave, what did I put beside it? Oh, I didn't put a reasoning why. 3.8, I think only the reason, like the main reason I can think of is just like I said at the beginning, it was like really slow to me. And then for the movie, I would say a 4 because I just feel like the whole, like, even though it was 2 hours and some change, and I really don't think it should have been, I wasn't like bored. There was never a moment I was bored. I feel like the pacing was pretty good too. I would say 4 for entertainment for movie and 3.8, I guess, for entertainment for book.
Okay. Themes. I said 3. I think there's a deep theme in like, like surviving abuse. And at what point do you become like like the monster if you let somebody else fall into that same situation? And like, yeah, like what lengths are you called to help somebody who is in serious trouble, And what does that look like with like the intersection of like the legal system and what's technically fair, I think there's a lot of deep themes that are in there, but I had to think for a hot minute on like deep themes that the book strove to like talk about or were like spiritually sound, so I gave it a 3 because it's like there's deep material in there, but we didn't explore it deeply. It wasn't a main focal point, wasn't for you to like learn something, or like reflect on your own life or anything.
Okay, I agree with you 100%. I'll do a 3 for the book. I'll say 3.5 for the movie. I'll explain why in a second. I think you're right. Like the theme or like something I think that was like a thread was like the idea of believing women, you know, if they're saying they're abused, or just like also the idea of like you said, when does the abused become the abuser? Because also back once again, Andrew's mother abused him. That's how he became the abuser.
Yeah.
Nina was abused by Andrew, and then she didn't necessarily abuse. Well, I mean, yeah, she kind of abused Millie, like the way she treated her when she was her, and you know. So I think those were like themes and like good type of thought provoking questions. But you're right. I don't think that was. It didn't seem like that was the intention of the story to get us thinking and talking about that. But I will say it kind of was mentioned more in the movie. Like I do think there's a one point where she explicitly says like men don't or people don't believe women or something like that, which was kind of like in your face, like trying to tell us the theme of it or like the point of it. So I'll say 3.5. But even though she says it, it still wasn't. I mean, nobody was paying attention to that. We were all just like, wow, she's not crazy. At the end, I didn't feel like, now I'm going to believe women. I just felt like, wow, that man was crazy. Hope I don't run into him. Like, that's more of like what you get out of it.
Yeah. For spice, I gave it a 3. Millie, I mean, a big theme of the book is that Millie falls in love with a married man, and so she regularly talks about like how attractive she thinks he is, you know, what it would feel like to kiss him, what it would feel like to be like intimate with him. And they do have an affair. So they have a moment where they go to the city and they stay in a hotel room together and they do the deed. And so like that for me, it was mild and closed door. There's nothing like on the page or explicit, but like the sexual themes and ideas are a pretty prominent component. So my score of 3 reflects that, you know.
Okay.
Just something to be aware of.
Yes. Looking at our new rubric. Okay. I give it a 5 because I'm like, there was no actual like, you know, description in the book. Yeah, there was no actual description. I was trying. Yes, descriptions are a word. There was no actual description, so I'm like, oh, then fine, it's a 5. But with our new rubric, I think you're right. The 3 is the best. So for the book, I'm going to say it was a 3 as well. I will agree with you on that. Also, side note, can you write down the numbers that I'm saying and you're saying? Do you mind? Do you have a pen with you?
I have mine. I haven't been writing down yours.
Okay,
but...
I think mine were 4, 4, and 3.
Okay.
And then, so mild closed door, I think, is the correct for the book. For the movie, you guys, it was a 1. The door was open. It was open and they showed us what was inside of the building. So the movie will get a 1 for that. Yeah. Okay. And then the next one.
All right. Language. I couldn't remember specifically like how much of what words were used.
Me neither.
So I put a 3. What?
I couldn't remember specifics.
I just put a 3 to be, I put a 3 to be safe. Maybe like a 2.5. I feel like it was definitely more than Codename Helene, which is another episode that you guys will be getting soon.
Oh, you think it was more than Codename Helene?
The actual language, I think so.
I feel like Codename Helene was more. Anyway,
well, we'll give it a 3 just to be. We'll give it a 3 to be moderate. Yeah. But yeah, there's definitely. I don't think it's like squeaky clean. No. Be prepared for some. Be prepared for some bad words.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the book. I did put 4. I didn't think it was like. It definitely wasn't squeaky clean, but I don't remember it being a lot. Like, I guess for me, whenever it's a lot, it always stands out. So I feel like it wasn't a lot. So to me, it was probably about a 4. And then in the movie, I would say it's a 4 as well. Just because, like I said, if it's a lot, it typically stands out. So I'll give language a 4, even a 3.5 maybe, or a 4. Yeah, I guess 3.5. Because they definitely cursed, but it wasn't like, you know, every 5 seconds, like Codename Helene felt. So yeah. So with those scores, what does it look like?
Well, my total comes out to a 3.6 for the overall rating. Yours, I'll have to crunch the numbers. So
While
4
you
plus
do
4
that,
plus 3 plus 3. Mm-hmm.
while you do that, I will say that I think it's a good, like, quick little book to read. I don't think it's anything that's going to, like, really, hinder your walk with Christ or anything like that. If you were wondering, just like be prepared. The movie, I do think if you have VidAngel, you run that thing through VidAngel real quick. But otherwise, I think other than like that one scene, which once again, it's just something that just feels so unnecessary to me. Like we get the point. I don't think it added to the movie at all. And we've talked about like how nudity. I'm sure there are times if it's like an old timey movie that could have added because of, maybe you need to show, I don't know, like a Greek god being born for whatever reason. I don't know. I'm trying to think of an instance, but like this, it was just not necessary. Like they could have told the same story without, we didn't have to see her breast or his butt. So
there you go. So I think our overall TOG score comes out to like a 3.5.
Okay. Wait, what was mine? When you added mine up, what was it?
That was yours was 3.5, and since mine was 3.6, I'm gonna say 3.5.
Really, mine was
unless
3.
you.
Oh, I guess because I didn't give it as high of an entertainment and plot. And then, what was the movie when you added the movie up?
Girl,
You
only gave me the one set of numbers,
okay,
so I have one set of numbers for you.
Okay.
So I think we're just gonna have to do ballpark overall Housemaid, the Housemaid universe, the movie and book all together. The general concept is a 3.5.
The general concept is 3.5. Be warned, the movie has nudity. That's the overall message, TOG message. So yeah, I guess that's it. This is our first episode since the rebrand. Let us know what you think. Did you read the book? Did you watch the movie? Did you like it? What did you think about the movie / book? Did you think it was like a lot deeper than we thought it was? Or did you think it was shallower than we thought it was? Did you enjoy it? I saw on Goodreads this one girl's review was like, she gave it a 1.5. She's like, did we read the same book? And I think we did, and just I cared about it more than you did, really. So yeah. Anything else? Anything else you want to add?
I think that's just about it. And hopefully you guys already watched the movie, already read the book before you listen, because oops, spoilers.